that election and what happened after that was a real wake-up call for us.
You have no place on our platforms.
And then working with our engineers and our content reviewers to build the tools to find that content and remove it.
Why? Because it's the right thing to do. And as we showed this year, we won't give a platform to violent conspiracy theorists on the App Store.
Twitter is rethinking some of its algorithms in an attempt to cut down on the spread of hate speech and false information.
We've got a statement now with regard to PayPal and reports that it has ended its relationship with InfoWars. In it, their statement from a PayPal spokesperson said that we have undertaken an extensive review of the InfoWars site and found instances that promoted hate or discriminatory intolerance against certain communities and religions, which run counter to our core values of inclusion. For that reason, they have ended their relationship.
Now Facebook apologizing to a Texas newspaper for part of the Declaration of Independence being labeled as hate speech.
And you saw a lot of neo-Nazi sympathizers suddenly taking to social networks like Facebook to put their anti-immigration views across. This is why there is such focus to tackle this in Germany, notably as they got, of course, the key election about to happen in September.
So in the last quarter, we've actually removed nearly 3 million posts for containing hate speech.
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Microsoft have all agreed to European regulations.
This quote around free speech wing of the Free Speech Party was never a mission of the company. It was a joke.
It was a joke.
What we try to do here is publish information about these people, where they are, what groups they're involved in, what they're publishing.
We work with Google on using AI to try to interrupt cyber hate before it happens. We work with YouTube to get them to change their algorithms. We work with Facebook on trying to use a redirect method.
And why isn't it getting acknowledged? We watch our president talk badly about globalists, the media, international banks, and we know what that's code for.
And when you talk about globalists, another phrase used by right-wing extremists.
What's the ADL going to do? We are going to fight back. We're going to fight back against the fascists and neo-Nazis. What does that mean? It means we're not going to wait for the White House. We're going to be working with state and local leaders, the business community, other nonprofits, and clergy. Richard, the bottom line is this. There are no two sides to this argument. It's good versus evil.
The abuse online can be far, far worse than anything physical.
Conspiracy theories that literally leap off the pages of white supremacist playbooks.
Launching a new war room so it can strike back. The goal, prevent another 2016.
In addition to taking action on hateful conduct online, Twitter says it will leverage its platform's capabilities to empower positive voices that challenge prejudice.
And that's why Systrom has made it his mission to make kindness itself the theme of Instagram through two new phases. First, eliminating toxic comments, a feature that launched this summer. And then second, elevating nice comments. Apps like Facebook and YouTube do allow users to turn comments off. But what Instagram's new feature does is block offensive comments from showing up on your post in the first place.
Was the next part of ADL's project. And I think a few of you have this at your seat, but this came out today. It is Control-Alt-Delete, recommendations of the ADL task force on the online harassment of journalists. And what we've done is we've broken it down into 3 different areas. Recommendations for industry, recommendations for journalists, advocates, and targets, and recommendations for law enforcement and policymakers. We're going to have a speaker following from Twitter who's going to explain about the actions that they've taken very recently to really track this head on.
So once Pepe became a recognized hate symbol by the Anti-Defamation League, I reached out and was like, hey guys, I'm on the same team here. Like, I don't want this frog to be a hate symbol.
Sure, well, part of the problem is there is no one agreed upon definition of alt-right. I mean, I tend to think of it as including everything from white supremacists and neo-Nazis to, 20-year-olds in their parents' basement tweeting offensive, racist, and anti-Semitic things at reporters, which has been another evolution we've seen this political cycle.
We would consider the Family Research Council a hate group. Some people might consider that controversial, but they consistently demonize the LGBT community, spread propaganda, demonizing propaganda about them, trying to link them to pedophilia. it's not just about gay marriage. Well, today, they may not be, killing people, but what they are doing is going to the White House and having an influence over public policy. So, that's a different form of danger. So we worry about both the hate mongers who wear, kind of white sheets and the hate mongers who wear business suits. They're both dangerous and dangerous in different ways. The one thing we don't require for a listing on our hate group list is violence. We don't say a group has to be a violent group to be a hate group. It can be spewing hateful propaganda and not engaging in violence, and we would call it a hate group.
And we decided, look, we're going to take this down. We don't think it has any business being on the internet, so we gave 24 hours notice to the Daily Stormer to move their site.
You may not have heard of internet firm Cloudflare. Even its CEO says that. Last week, though, it got a lot of attention. It terminated the account of the Daily Stormer.
One of my fellow employees came up to me the day that we took it offline and said, hey, is this the day the internet dies? The question is this hypocritical? Yes. So fuck them. They're off the internet.
And the minute that we start down that path, there is a slippery slope to a place where we are the ones making that determination on what is good and what is bad. And so instead, what we think of ourselves again as is Switzerland. We think of ourselves as that neutral party, and nobody really likes the Swiss, but they respect them. And I hope that that's kind of the place that we're at as well.
Fuck them. They're off the internet.
Why are people being suspended for tweeting #LearnToCode?
Yep.
So it wasn't about just the learn to code. It was about the context that we were seeing.
Come on, that's just not true. That's just not true. The editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller was suspended for tweeting nothing but #LearnToCode.
So Tim, can I finish what I was saying?
Yeah.
So we were looking at the context, and what was happening is there were journalists receiving hundreds of tweets. Some had death threats, some had wishes of harm, some just learned to code. And in that particular context, we made a decision. We consider this type of behavior dogpiling, which is when all of a sudden individuals are getting tons and tons of tweets at them. They feel very abused or harassed.
It's not really the extremists anymore that hate is being normalized, and that's what we need to worry about. But if hate is being normalized and normal people are participating in the Unite the Right marches and other marches and browsing the websites and going to the dark web or the not so dark web where a bunch of these hateful things are occurring, then some of those people are at least potentially fine people, normal people. So how do we think about whether or not hate is being normalized or whether we should still regard it as an extremist section of America that we ought to ostracize?
So fuck them. They're off the internet.